Edwards, the most valuable motivator, he calls himself. James, are you on the line?
Hey, how you doing, sir? You doing all right?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being on Bayloric TV.
Yes, I thank you for the opportunity for bringing me on for the interview.
I've been seeing a lot of your work, and I've got to say, this interview is one that I'm really looking forward to.
Oh wow, I appreciate you. I'm excited about it. I love doing Q&A and I love doing interviews, and I really do believe that the right questions will pull the best out of every person. Or it'll put you up against the fence, against the wall. It'll show how much you really got in you. So I look forward to the interview also.
Well, I like to ask the questions that the fans want the answers to. So let's get kicking, shall we?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay, so the most valuable motivator. I won't ask you the obvious question, why are you so valuable? I want to know a little bit more about your past. But before
I got you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
But before we go into your past, I want to know about the people you're currently working with at the moment or have worked with.
Okay. Of course, everybody sees the video to call out with Deontay Wilder. I'm working with Deontay Wilder, and I really do believe personally that Deontay Wilder is about to bring the heavyweight division back. I believe that he is about to be explosive, exciting, and entertaining inside of the ring and outside of the ring. I really do believe that that America as a whole have been waiting for American heavyweight with the power and with the boxing style of a Deontay Wilder. And so at this point, we called out Bermane Stiverne back in July, and who knows about who knows about what's about to happen next. I've also worked with an MMA fighter by the name of Eric Anders. He's doing MMA, and he's about to go UFC. And personally, right now, as a motivational speaker, I've tapped into the niche of getting ready to redefine, redesign, recreate, and reinvent the ring walk in boxing and in fighting, to add another level of excitement, another level of energy, and another level of enthusiasm, another level of entertainment for the fans before the fight takes place.
I have to say, I saw the MMA entrance with you talking. You were psyching the guy up, and I have to say that was phenomenal. It made the shivers go down my spine, and I, as a former boxer, wanted to be in there, and I wanted you saying that to me because it was phenomenal. It was just so good. Where did you get to speak like that?
I think it's a God-given gift, honestly. Of course, I will, just being honest, I have a particular way I do everything. I want, for the sake of, somebody trying to copy what I do before it really takes off, I won't tell you the exact system I use in order to go to execute the speaking or the motivation the way I do it. But as time goes on and as I begin to establish myself in the boxing arena, in the MMA arena, in the UFC arena, I will begin to bring out, the how-tos. After I really go on and coin the phrase and go on coin the ring walk, I will go ahead and we'll have another interview, a year down the line, or so to speak, whatsoever it may be, and I'll be able to go into it about how I do what I do. But it's definitely a God-given talent, and it's definitely a gift. And my heart is to bring the best out of every person. Eric said when I brought him out to the ring in Memphis, he won the fight in 1 minute and 41 seconds. He said he had never felt no energy like that before he fought. And he's saying right now he'll go, when he had down days, he'll go pick the video up and watch it. And it just run his energy. It just run his anticipation and his expectation up to another dimension after he sees it. So, of course, I want to do it. I definitely see myself working with a few other guys. I definitely see myself, I definitely see making the most valuable motivator a very, very entertaining character for the fans of boxing, the fans of UFC, and the fans of MMA. And I just look excited to what the future got coming.
So let's go back. It wasn't easy for you to get where you are today, and everyone's got a backstory, and yours is a very interesting one.
Absolutely. My story goes as follows. My father was killed when I was 4, and my mom was addicted to drugs, crack cocaine in particular, until I was 17. And my grandmother, she was my caregiver. She raised me. And when I was 9 years old, my grandmother started having heart failure. And so from there, as my grandmother started going in and out of the hospital, I had to move in with my mom. And every single day I was with my mom, I was facing verbal abuse, mental abuse, and physical abuse. And a couple of times my mom looked at me and told me that I was the worst mistake she ever made. Well, my grandmother ended up dying, and football was my world. Football was my heart. And when I was in the 7th grade, getting ready to be the starting quarterback for the 7th and the 8th grade team in middle school, my mom snatched me off the football team and wouldn't let me play. And my grandmother was dead, football was gone, and I was living with my mom, who was bringing the streets inside of the house, so to speak. So I just made a decision at 12 years old that if I can't play football, if I can't make it to the NBA, if I don't, make it in professional sports, that I'll just sell crack for the rest of my life. So at 15, I sold my first piece of crack cocaine. And at 18, I was traveling back and forth from Florence, Alabama to Detroit, Michigan on the Greyhound bus with drugs. By the time I was 20 years old, I bought and sold my first kilo of cocaine. And a kilo of cocaine in the city like Florence, Alabama, deep South Alabama, rural city, small city, they try to make you a celebrity. But by the time I was 24, I had rose to the next dimension, went to the next level. I went to Houston, Texas, in an attempt to buy 5 kilos of cocaine for $80,000. And when I got there, to my surprise, the guy who I was supposed to have been buying the cocaine from whipped the gun in my face, pulled the trigger, but the gun didn't fire. And he robbed me for $80,000 whatsoever. Did I stop? No, that wasn't. I didn't stop. But on August 1st, 2005, the FBI and the DEA had enough of me. That was the day that they arrested and indicted me to stand charges of conspiracy to attempt to deliver and conspiracy to attempt to possess 50 to 150 kilos of cocaine and 2,000 pounds of marijuana. When they wrapped me up in the conspiracy, they was trying to say that I was a small city drug lord. I had my first cousin killed, second cousin killed, but by the grace of God, I got sentenced to 96 months in federal prison. And on the road to prison, when there were no distractions, no interruptions, and no interferences, I began to entertain the questions of growth. And I began to face the fact of the reality of it. If I go back to society, selling drugs the same way I was selling them before I got locked up, the next time they would catch me and give me a life without parole sentence. So therefore, I just started getting away from my peers, and I started hanging around individuals in prison who I consider had wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, older individuals. And one day I was with one of my mentors, and he asked me a question that shook me to the core of my being. He asked me a question that just changed my life. He said, James, let's go back to day one. What caused you to sell drugs anyway? And when I thought about it, nobody really had ever asked me that question. Right then, I couldn't describe it. And right then, I couldn't answer the question. But as the question stayed on me, it continued to resonate in my mind over and over and over again. And one day, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I said, man, I was in an identity crisis. And therefore, I just made a total commitment to myself to find my purpose, to find my gifts, my talents, and my abilities, so I could get prepared in prison to go to the world and be an asset to my community and not a liability. So I began this quest, and I just began to read book after book. I began to dialogue with older individuals, like I say, who was full of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And I walked out of prison on August the 2nd, 2011, after a 6-year prison stint. And I was working a job, and I will never forget that one night in particular, as I was working a job, waiting tables at a restaurant, I waited on a group of men that I considered to be very, very racial, full of envy, full of hate. And they treated me real, real bad as a server for the hour and 20 minutes they was at my table. They ran me and they talked to me like a dog. They did everything but spit in my face and called me the N-word. And after they left me a total of $3 on the table. And at the end of the night, I worked for like 9.5 hours. And I think I had probably like $17 in my pocket. And I got in the car, and I'll never forget sitting inside of the car, and I just started crying, and I just started, just having pretty much a pity party. And I was like, God, I didn't sign up for this. I changed my life. I'm trying to live the right way. And I'm out, and I was doing better in prison. And I'm like, I can't take it. I know how to, I know what life yielded me the last time I was out, and I know how to give me $150,000, $200,000 in a matter of months. And as I was in the middle of my pity party, I heard a voice just as clear as day say these words. He said, don't you dare complain about something that you're not willing to change. And when I thought about it, it shook me, and I just froze. And I'm like, well, how am I going to change it? What can I do? These people won't give me a job. And then I heard the voice come back and say, if they don't give you a job, it's time for you to create a job. And then I say, how am I going to create a job? I don't have a skill. I don't have this. I don't have that. I just started complaining about everything I didn't have. The voice came back and said, stop complaining about everything you don't have and focus on the one gift that you do have. And my mind shot back to prison when I used to be in prison, motivating and uplifting and encouraging and preaching to everybody in the prison, on the prison yard. And I remember how when I would speak, the whole prison yard would come out. And so therefore, make it a long story short, 90 days later from that night, I found myself standing in front of the Houston Texans in Jacksonville, Florida, before they played the Jacksonville Jaguars, giving them a motivational message. 60 days after that, I was with Steve Harvey and at Disney Dreamers, speaking as a fill-in speaker there. Probably like 90 days after that, Steve Harvey brought me to his mentoring weekend in Dallas, Texas. Before I knew it, I was at Lincoln University speaking in front of at the Lincoln University football team and giving them a message the morning before they played in the locker room. I was at the University of Alabama. Before I knew it, I just became, a nationally recognized motivational speaker. And I got on the journey. And man, through trial and error, through ups and downs, through discovering who I am and how strong my gift is, I found myself standing with Deontay Wilder. And I did a video for Floyd Mayweather also, and met him. Didn't happen like I wanted it to happen, but, we don't cry for what we want. We don't whine for what we want, but we put our hands to the plow and we grind for what we want. And so, therefore, I'm pregnant with redefining, redesigning, reinventing, and recreating the ring walking boxing and UFC and MMA, and here we go. That's where I am today.
Wow, it's a great story, and it's a real story, real life.
Yeah, it's absolutely real life story. Sis.
And when you tell a story like this, it's very easy for us to walk through the corridor with you for a few moments and then forget about it, and we just focus on the high times, the high moments. But I want to go back to those areas of difficult times, and back to that moment when you were serving and you've been racially you felt that you've been racially abused. What was going through your mind at that time in terms of your self-worth?
What was going through my mind in terms of my self-worth in prison?
No, when you were serving.
When I was serving the tables, and
Yes.
The guys was pretty much talking to me like a dog and running me. I knew in my mind the entire time, I was just saying I have to get through this moment, because today what I'm experiencing right now is not the reality of my future. And so what was kept going through my mind is the test of humility. If I don't pass this test right now, I'm going to have to come back around and then pass it again. And so I just continue to baptize myself in, man, I'm better than this. This is just a season. This is just a process. And I begin to let myself know that if anybody that's searching for greatness, if you are asking for greatness, you always qualify yourself for the struggle. You understand what I'm saying? Anybody that want to go to the top of the mountain, they qualify themselves to take a trip through the valley. And I knew that it was just something I had to get through. It was just a process that I had to go through in order to become who I am today and to continue to become well, who I'm going to be in the next 3 to 4 or 5 years down the line.
How difficult was it for you to leave the peers that you had been rolling with in a crime scene or involved with crime? How easy was it for you to get, or how difficult was it for you to pull yourself away and not have peer pressure doing that?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. I get so many people ask me that same question, when I finish speaking and going into Q&As. But because I was a leader, because I was the one instructing and telling my peers to do this and influencing them to do that, it really wasn't hard because I had a made-up mind in prison. And when I walked out of prison, I knew that I would encounter some of those guys. And I wasn't even out of prison 2 or 3 weeks, and guys was running up to me like, man, we got one more run in us, man. Just give us the instructions, give us the order, and we going to do it, so to speak. But I was so changed. My mind had been renewed to such of a profound degree that I knew I had a gift inside of me. And I knew that it was nothing in the world was going to make me take any type of chances to go back to prison. So it really wasn't hard for me because, like I said, I was the leader, and it wasn't any peer pressure. And they was pretty much asking me to come back to help them, and they had been out the whole entire time. So because I have always had a leadership mentality, it wasn't hard for me to continue to chase the dream or chase the vision that I seen instead of trying to follow somebody that I know who couldn't lead me to a place but destruction.
Okay, I'm going to do 2 more questions about the prison, and we're going to get out of prison because that's where I'm still.
Okay, that's good.
Right, we're still on the journey. Now, in the prison, what was your greatest moment in the prison? It's a strange question, but I'm sure I'm going to get some revelation here.
You asked me what was my greatest moment in prison?
Yes.
Okay, my greatest moment in prison came in November of 2006. I was in a one-man holding cell. I got in trouble in prison, and they had locked me up in a holding cell, in a one-man cell. And it was when the search for purpose and the search for my gift began at an all-time high, at a very, very intense level. And I'll never forget, I was reading a book by Joel Osteen, and the book was entitled Your Best Life Now. And inside of the book, he was talking about if you can never see yourself living, chapter 1 is entitled Enlarging Your Vision. And what the revelation is, if you can never see yourself living on top of the house of the hill, you'll never be able to live there. If you can never see yourself internally owning a business, you'll never own it. If you can never see yourself internally being the heavyweight championship, to being the heavyweight champion of the world, you'll never be it. And so what he was saying is you have to enlarge your vision. You have to see it internally before it can happen externally. So what took place is I really began to pray to God and say, God, I had never seen myself doing anything but selling dope. And I heard a voice say, keep reading. As I was read the chapter over and over again around about the 8th time, it seemed like all of a sudden it was like a movie flash, like pow, like a gunny shot. And my spirit, it felt like my spirit and my soul had left my body and went to a place. And I could see at the place I was standing at a podium, and I could just see nothing but a sea of people. And as they were looking at me, I was just looking back, and I looked to the right, and I see my mom and my auntie and my daughter. And I looked to the left, and I seen my 2 uncles in white suits. Then I looked at myself, and I had on a white top and a white bottom. Then boom, I just snapped back to the cell. This was in the middle of the daytime. So I jumped up and I ran to the door, and I started beating on the cell door, because I had been in this one-man cell for like 94 days. And so they say when a person has been locked up in solitary confinement at a certain amount of time, they start losing their mind. They start having to give them medicine and stuff like that. So I'm beating on the door, boom, 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 boom. And so the orderly came down. He's like, man, you okay? And I'm like, hey, man, go get a correction officer, man. Y'all got to open this door to let me out of here, man. I'm losing my mind. I'm hallucinating. Something going wrong. And so the correction officer came down. He opened the door. He looked at me like, how you doing, sir? What's wrong? And I'm just crying my eyes out. I'm like, man, something going wrong with me, man. I'm seeing stuff. And he looked at me and started laughing. And he said, yeah, this round about that time, they started losing it. And he slammed the door. And so I was like, man, what in the world going on? And so I'm crying. I'm scared to death because I'm really think I'm losing my mind. Probably about 4 hours later, it was time to go to sleep. And inside of the hole, when the lights go out, it's just so dark and so black you can't even see your hand. And so I laid down on the bed, and I wouldn't sleep. I finally dozed off to sleep, but I wouldn't sleep for 5 minutes. And as soon as I went to sleep, I seen the exact same thing that I seen in the trance earlier that day. I seen it in a dream. But this time I had a microphone in my mouth. And man, it seemed like I was preaching or saying something, but I couldn't hear myself. But I could feel my auntie hit me on the back saying, boy, you better go, you know. And so by that time, I jumped up out of my sleep and I jumped to the edge of the bed. And I was like, God, are you calling me to preach or something? And then all of a sudden, I heard a voice say, son, what is the thing about you that everybody hates? And I was like, I don't know. And then the voice came back and said, it's your mouth. And instantly, I began to see three things that took place in my past. I remember at 13 years old, me and my mom was driving to school, and I started asking my mom about one of her friends, about a friend smoking crack, because there was just a rumor going around the school. And she popped me in the mouth and said, shut up, Pastor, I can't stand your mouth. And then the next time, I was with my auntie, and I was buying my first Escalade, and I ran inside of the finance office with like $15,000 in cash. She's like, well, get out of here, boy, you talk too much. Then the third time, I was with my girlfriend at the time, and I was sitting at the table. My mind just going back to these places. I'm sitting at the table with her and her coworkers and her friends, and I'm just boasting and bragging about all the money I had, all the stuff I was doing. And she looked at me. She said, shut up, boy. Oh, I can't stand your mouth. You talk too much. Then I heard the voice say, there's nothing wrong with talking too much. You just talking about the wrong thing. And that became a defining moment. I knew right then that I had been called to be a communicator, to have a voice, to draw people and to start a movement, so to speak, for the right thing. That was the most, for me personally, in a one-man cell at 2 in the morning, whatsoever it was, when I found out that I had the gift to speak. That was the most free, like, I guess, exhilarating. It was the key to my freedom inside of my personal life. And I had 6 more years to do in prison. Wow. 5 more years to do in prison after that.
Spirituality, and, you know, it has great highs, but it also brings great lows. One minute you could be getting great vision and being empowered and being given strength, and the next minute the carpet's been ripped from under your feet and you feel as low as anything. But it's that high that keeps you through those low moments. Do you get me?
Absolutely.
So, what was the lowest part of being in prison?
Lowest part of being in prison, 2008, January the 18th, 2008. Never forget it. 29 years old. I just turned 29 on that day. And previously to that day, when I think about it, it made my heart drop. Previously to that day, the prison had been in riots, and there was a lot of stuff going on inside the prison, but outside of the prison, pretty much my mom, we was trying to reconstruct our relationship. She had pretty much turned her back on me. Pretty much anybody that I called at the time was pretty much like out of sight, out of mind. And girlfriend I was madly so deep in love with at the time, she left me. I made a phone call home, and after giving her thousands and thousands of dollars in brand new cars and jewelry, so to speak, from that lifestyle, never forget, I called home and another guy answered the phone. And I was laying in the bed on this morning. I had went from 227 pounds to like 176. And people was thinking I was just straight up sick, but I was just going through so much pressure. So much was happening. And I never forget, I was laying on the bed, and I just felt like I started having entertaining suicidal thoughts. Mm-hmm. So low, felt like that I wasn't worth nothing. Felt like I quit reading, stopped reading my Bible, stopped trying to change. I was getting ready to literally quit. And when I got to the lowest point of my life, and I was entertaining super suicidal thoughts, I heard a voice say to me as I was laying on the bed, my 29th birthday, crying my eyes out about I can't believe that all these people that I helped along the journey and did all this for, they just left me like this for dead. And I'm like, I hadn't seen nobody in 2 years. Don't nobody love me. You know, I'm going through all of that. And I heard a voice say, "Cursed be the man that put his trust in man, but blessed be the man that put his trust in God." I have given you everything that you need and even more to get through this situation and get throughout the rest of this time. I need you to get your eyes on the vision that you see. And instantly, I begin to cultivate a spirit of relentlessness right there at that moment. And all the people that I was motivating and encouraging inside of prison walls, it was time for me to stop using my gift on them. And it was time for me to start pulling it on myself. And before I knew it, I was up out of the bed, man, in boxer shorts and in a T-shirt, encouraging myself. And I will never forget, I was telling myself, boy, you coming out of this. You coming out of depression. You coming out of loneliness. You coming out of being destitute of the truth. You coming out of ignorance. You coming out of self-pity. You coming out of low self-esteem. You coming out of a defeated mindset. I just begin to encourage myself. And I really do believe that the depths of the motivation that I bring right now, I always go back to that place of where I was on that day as I'm writing and as I begin to try to talk and try to motivate somebody else. That was the lowest day. But when I motivated myself up out of the pit of depression, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I became somebody for myself. So I knew I was going to become somebody to somebody else, so to speak.
So now we leave prison, okay?
We out of prison. Let's go.
We're out of prison now. We're out of prison. Thank God. We're out of prison. And now, now we are talking about trying to get employment as a black man who's been in prison.
Yes, sir.
The challenges in America.
Yes, sir.
How did you handle that?
I didn't handle it. Just like I said, I was serving that night, and I never forget when the voice said, "Stop worrying about everything you don't have and worry about the one thing you do have." If they don't give you a job, create you a job. Stop complaining about something that you're not willing to change. I stopped crying. I stopped making excuses, and I began to go inside of myself to see. I had that morning, that next day, I said to myself, I'm going to do one or two things. I'm either about to create my own job, or I'm about to go somewhere and try to be a truck driver, right? And it's a guy that has been pretty much coaching, consulting, and counseling me since I've been out. And I told him, I said, man, I'm going to go drive trucks, so I'm going to speak one of the two. And he said, drive trucks, man, do you realize what's inside of you? And I'm like, I realize it, but people don't realize it. And just pretty much from there, it's no formula to it. There's no formula to it at all. I just made up in my mind, whatever I got to go through, I got to go through. Whoever I got to fight, I got to fight. Whatever I got to let go, I got to let go. But however I got to be humble, I'm willing to be humble. Like I said, I spoke to the Houston Texans, made a YouTube video out of it. A principal from a high school saw it, asked me to come speak there. He told another principal how good I could speak. He asked me to come. The third high school, they gave me $1,000. And I said, it's time to make it work.
Wow.
And I just pressed, and I pushed, and I kicked, and I fought. And I recreated, I rebranded, I fell down, I made mistakes, and I never stopped.
So what does it feel like, or what does it look like being or walking up the mountain?
What do it look like motivating a fighter from the locker room to the ring, basically?
No. What does it feel like walking up the mountain?
What does it feel like walking up the mountain?
Yeah.
I try to tell people this right now, and I'm trying to tell myself this. Enjoy the journey, because when you get to the top of the mountain, if you don't get the wisdom, the nuggets, the revelation that you need on the way to the top, you'll never stay there. And so it's strenuous. It's a fight, but I'm just so committed to anything that don't anything that I'm committed to this statement. Anything that means something to you is going to cost you a price. You understand what I'm saying? You got to pay for what you want.
I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm just so committed to that statement. I'm so committed to fighting for what I want. I don't worry about the pain. I know it's coming. I don't worry about the pressure. I know it's coming. I'm just committed. My new slogan is this. I got one shot, no other options, and no plan B. Because that's the mindset it takes in order for you to succeed.
Wow.
Finish the race, complete the work, and get the job done.
Now, going back to the mountain top, as you're going up the mountain, as you're moving up the levels, you know, when you start going to places you've never been before, there's a certain breeze, there's a certain element of fear that comes in, because now you're going higher. It's like somebody who has never been past the 3rd floor on a lift and suddenly is going up to the 25th floor. There's a different feeling altogether. What does that feel like when you're now out of control?
It's a feeling that you really can't describe. Once you go from level 2 to level 3, it's an excitement. It's an energy it's like it's happening. It's like, man, it's not only happening internally, but it's happening externally now. It's a reality. And so it's just, man, it feels great. It feels great. And to share it with people that really care about you, to share it with people who really rooting you on and really trying to help you get to the next dimension, it just sent me to a deep gratitude. I just be so thankful.
Great.
I just be so thankful that, you got people that really believe in you, people behind you, people that see what you see and beyond. And so, man, I just try to take it all in. I just try to be grateful, and I try to let the ones around me enjoy it with me.
You know, when we are doing well in our lives, we like to go back and give back to the people that have been in our community. What does it feel like when you try and give back to people in your own community but won't allow you to grow, that will always remember you as that person as before? How do you overcome that?
Man, it's funny you asked me that, because I just went back to my hometown to speak about a month ago, and I gave them a message entitled "It's Possible." Right? I can't worry about, because they don't have the intestinal fortitude, because they're not dedicated, because they're not committed, because they may want to come out, but they don't have enough drive and enough fight and enough fire to come out. I can't worry about that. All I try to do is be the example, is to show them that it's possible for you to become whatever you want to become. It's possible for you to be anything you want to be. And so I just try to go back to be very, very personable. I try to position myself that people want to talk to me, we can talk. I try to give myself to them, because they are definitely inspired. They are definitely like, wow, man, you've done all this in a matter of 3 years, and you just pretty much just got out of prison 3 years ago. And it really makes them feel like I try my best to make them feel like that, they are a part of it. Because in all actuality, it was a few of them that had to tell me when times got rough right there in the middle of them. There's a few of them that had to tell me, man, you need to keep going. You don't need to stop.
Wow.
And so, because of that, I feel like I owe it back to my community. I feel like I owe it to young kids who's growing up right now with a mother and a father that's on drugs and alcohol. I feel like I owe it to young boys who growing up right now without a father. I feel like I owe it to people who can't find a purpose, who've been through catastrophic events and fell down and feel like they can't get back up. I feel like I owe it to the prisoner that's walking out of prison right now saying, how am I going to be able to make it? I feel like I owe it to God himself, because what if the gun would have fired in my face back in the summer of 2003? I feel like I owe it to my daughter to show her that, you can become successful and you can make it no matter what obstacles, no matter what setbacks, or no matter what statistics they say you're going to be.
In a climate now in America with lots of black on black crime and also a lot of young black men being shot at and killed. Where do you think you fit in all of this in terms of where you stand and where you're at?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I really don't think about, just being honest with you, I really don't think about where I fit in the climate of America. When you look at things happening like Ferguson and you're looking at the Trayvon Martin situation, I understand exactly where you're coming from. I really don't, I don't know. I can't say, because I'm a firm believer in that your choices and your decisions, 90% of the things that you get out of life come from the choices that you make. I feel like that. I'm sorry. This is just who I am, and this is just what I feel like. I feel like that if I always keep myself in a position for certain things not to happen, I don't have to worry about it, right? But at the same time, if I do get in a position and something happens, I just try my best to pray that I'm doing the right thing. I'm in the right position, that I'm doing right no matter what. I really don't know where I stand. One part of me want to fight and raise up and say, man, this ain't right. This ain't that. But you know, it's two sides to every story and everything. It's actually three sides. It's the person who's in it, it's the other person who's in it, and it's actually the truth. So I'm kind of like in a position of, I really, you know, my heart go out to everybody. My mind is, how can I help this situation not happen again to somebody else?
Wow.
Is there any type of way I can influence the young black male to begin to change his appetite from, you know, putting yourself in positions that could lead to a dangerous or a disastrous situation? Can I talk to the police officer or whoever, let them know, man, the reason why you reacting like this is because you don't understand the young black male. You don't understand what we up against. I feel like, me personally, my heart is to try to see if I can get to one of either side and begin to turn their perspective and change their appetite that could ultimately lead them away from the path they might be coming on to meet each other.
Wow. Obviously, you met Steve Harvey, which is somebody that I've got a lot of time for. I've never met Steve Harvey, but I love the man. I love what he does. He's a big personality. Yeah. Where do you fit in terms, or where's your mindset in terms of, well, to meet Steve Harvey and to have had the opportunities you've had via Steve Harvey, that's a great accomplishment, is it not?
Oh, yeah. I think, you know, I've been with Steve ever. Well, I'm going to respect him to the utmost, man, because I got a lot of respect for him. I've been with Mr. Steve Harvey since 2012.
Right.
Yeah, I've been with him since 2012. I've been grinding, been working with him for the last 3 years. And, it's a great accomplishment. It's definitely an honor to have the opportunity to sit at his feet and listen to him talk about how he made it from where he was, from where he started to where he is.
Yes.
And just to be honest, you know, I don't say this in arrogance. I just say this in a state of maturity now. I used to be very, very excited about, man, I'm going to go speak at the mentoring weekend again. I'm going to go meet this person. I'm going to go meet that person. I'm going to have an opportunity to speak with Steve. But then lately, my mind has went to, like I say, I don't say this in arrogance, but I say it in maturity. You're not just popping up on the scene with all these people. You're not just being with these people just to be with them. You being with them because what's inside of you is inside of them, and you belong around them. Wow. You have something within yourself. You have something within yourself that's an asset to them and not a liability. That's why it's not a one-hit wonder thing. You don't get one opportunity and miss it. You got me? You get one opportunity, you create 5 or 6 more. And the evidence of you creating 5 or 6 more is the realization, the reality of that you have something inside of you that's an asset to the people, that's an asset to the people, to him, and that's an asset to yourself. So I've been into the place where I've just been so happy and so hungry just to be around them, but it's happening so much that I guess I'm to a state now that I'm used to it, so to speak.
Amen.
Yeah.
Deontay Wilder. How did that happen? How did you and Deontay Wilder hook up?
Oh wow, man, that's my man. I did the video for Floyd Mayweather. Did you see it?
I'm not sure if I did.
You didn't see that, but anyway, I did Floyd a video, and I did Floyd the video, and I actually went out to Vegas before the first fight to fight McDonough,
Right.
and I met him. I dropped the video in his hand, dropped the video in his team hand, and I said, and they was like, "Well, man, what you want?" And I'm like, "Man, I want to motivate Floyd." I said, "You see how y'all have Justin Bieber and Lil Wayne walking Floyd to the ring? I say, man, this is what I'm doing to Floyd, this video that I'm speaking to him on. I want to motivate Floyd from the locker room to the ring on this video." And they was like, "Man, that's a tall order," so to speak. And had an opportunity to sit down with Little Ellaby and talk to him about it. And he didn't tell me no, but he didn't tell me yes. And, of course, it didn't happen. And so he just encouraged me. Leonard was like, "Man, why don't you think about, I love your concept. I love how you can bring another level of excitement. I love the concept of new energy, new enthusiasm, new electricity, new entertainment." He's like, "But why don't you go, why don't you try to go holler at, Mickey Bay, or go talk to Jalen Love, go talk to some other boys." I'm like, "Man, I want to be the money team's most valuable motivator, so to speak." And so it didn't happen. And so 10 days later, it didn't happen yet. There you go. 10 days later, I was on the phone with a friend. There was a mutual friend to me and Deontay, and he put us on the phone. And Deontay was like, "Man, you from Alabama?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from Alabama, Florence, Alabama. You Tuscaloosa, man." I'm like, "Man, let me do your video, man." He like, "Bet," so to speak. And so he said he had already seen the video. He was like, "Wow, man, you got it," so to speak. And so I just told D, I'm like, "Man, I want to motivate you from the locker room to the ring." And he like, man, that'll be cool, man. 2 Bama boys coming out, so to speak. And man, we had started cultivating a relationship, and I just seen where, I called him one day. I'm like, "What's going on?" He was like, "I'm just chilling." I'm like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Man, I got an idea." He like, "What?" I'm like, "Man, why they ain't made the date? Why ain't nobody made the date on the fight?" He like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Let's call him out, D." He like, "What you mean?" I'm like, "Let's do a video to call out. Let's send it." And D like, "I'm for that. Let's do it." And ever since then, we did the call out, man. And you see, we got rave reviews.
Yes.
And October the 1st, we looking to see what the date is going to be for the number 1 contender, Deontay Wilder, and the heavyweight champion himself, Bermane Stiverne, to get in the ring to bring the heavyweight division back to where it used to be. The fans are wanting it. Everybody is waiting on it, just like everybody wants to see Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. Everybody wants to see Deontay Wilder and Bermane Stiverne clash for the heavyweight championship of the world. They want to see if Deontay Wilder got a chin, if he can stand it. And they want to see if Bermane Stiverne really is who he say he is by saying he's the people champion. He beat Chris Arreola twice. They say Deontay ain't fight nobody. And personally, I don't think Bermane Stiverne has fought nobody. But I believe the only way to see who is the next contender for Klitschko, who is the number 1 contender to unify the belts for Klitschko, and to bring the heavyweight division back to where it used to be, I think it's time for him to get in the ring. And personally, I really believe, my personal opinion, I think Deontay Wilder knocks Stiverne out in round 4.
Wow. It's a big statement.
Yeah. I think at 6'7", 225 with an 84-inch wingspan, and with the Mike Tyson type power, I think Stiverne can't wink for 1 second. I think Stiverne has to be in shape for 12 rounds, and he can't get hit. I feel like if Stiverne get hit, we're going to see if he can stand it. We're going to see if he can stand the bronze bomber.
Wow. This is great stuff. Tell me, when I listen to you, I hear Don King.
You hear Don King?
I hear Don King. And he wasn't too bad, was he?
You say Don King wasn't too bad. He was all right.
He was all right. I mean, listen, everybody in the world of boxing knows who Don King is.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as bad press. There's just
Yeah.
press.
Yeah, just Fred. Yeah, Don King was all right. Yeah, he's all right. Why you say when you listen to me you hear Don King?
Because Don King was loud. Don King has a presence. There is no promoter in the world like Don King. No one. No one. It's Don King. When Don King walks into a room, it's Don King. In his heyday, there was nobody close to him.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you asking? What's the question?
The question I'm going to ask you is, Martin Luther King, he had a dream.
Martin Luther King had a dream.
He had a dream, but he never quite saw it out. What is your dream?
Oh, what is my dream? Oh, wow. Man, I have a dream to inspire the world, to spark the world, to understand that inside of every person under the face of this planet that's ever been born on this planet, that they have a unique gift that is so strong that it can deliver them in life anything they want. I just want to inspire and spark the world to begin on a quest for purpose, to find out who they are and to find out what's inside of them, to discover it, to understand it, to develop it, and to execute it, to live a life of purpose and to live a life of fruitfulness and effectiveness. And I just so happen to have a gift of motivation, of inspiration, and of transformation through the communicating of my mouth. At this point, that's the dream. And you know, as we mature and as we grow and as we get older and wiser, the dream expands. But today, September the 17th, 2014, at 4:19 p.m. Central Standard Time in the United States, this is one part of the dream that I see.
In closing, and I've got to do this, I need motivating.
You need motivating.
Bayloric TV needs motivating. We could not end this interview without you motivating Bayloric TV.
Bayloric TV, this is your moment, this is your day, this is your season, and this is your time to be one of the greatest interviewers, one of the greatest stations that the world has ever seen a day in their life. Will you stand the course? Will you fight the fight? Will you get knocked down and get back up so you can finish the race, complete the work, and get the job done? Bayloric TV, I'm behind you 100%. Finish the race, complete the work, and get the job done.
Amen, amen, amen. I receive all of that. James, thank you so much for talking to Bayloric TV and sharing, such great moments. It's an interview that certainly I will listen to again and will be motivated by, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners will be motivated too. Now, before I end the interview, it would be wrong of me not to ask you in a way, how can listeners contact you?
Our listeners can go to my website. First of all, they can go to my website, www.themostvaluablemotivator.com. It is www.TheMostValuator. The most valuable. I'm so sorry. www. Most valuable VALUABLE motivator MOTIVATOR.com. You can follow me on Twitter, James Edwards MVM. @James Edwards EDWARDS MVM on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram, Most Valuable Motivator, MOSTVALUABLE Motivator MOTIVATOR. That's how you can get in contact with me. I'm a nationally renowned motivational speaker. If you go to my website, you can see every area I speak in. You can see what the journey has been, and you can book me to speak. Or you can follow me every day on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram And Mr. Baylor TV, I forgot to tell you how I got the name, the most valuable motivator. If the fans, I'm sure the fans want to know because I'm not self-proclaimed.
Absolutely.
Actually, somebody gave me that name. Man, I was in, before we go, it was in March of 2013. I was in Augusta, Georgia, promoting a tour that I was on, that I was going to be speaking on. And I went to a school by the name of Morgan Road Middle School, and it was a young kid by the name of Conrad Rhodes Jr. As soon as I finished giving one of my messages entitled "The Six Pits of an Identity Crisis," he jumped up, and I was up there taking pictures with the kids and shaking hands, and a couple of them wanted me to sign an autograph at the time, and I was doing it. And he walked up to me and he said, "Hey man, what does that on your shirt stand for, the MMC?" And I said, "It stands for Motivate Minds to Create. That's the name of my company." And he looked at me and he said, "Man, you not MMC, you the MVM." And I said, "What's that?" "Man, you the most valuable motivator." Because
Wow.
I haven't never heard nobody motivate me like this. And man, since I heard you speaking, I want to make something out of myself. And I looked at that kid, and I looked at my liaison who was taking me around from place to place. And I told the little kid, "Tell him what you just said." He's like, "Man, this ain't MMC. This the MVM. This the most valuable motivator, because I haven't never heard nobody motivate me like this, man. And I want to do something with my life." And before I knew it, I told a couple people the story, and it started sticking. James Edwards, the most valuable motivator.
See, I didn't.
You can go to YouTube too. I'm sorry, YouTube. I got a lot of work on YouTube. Yeah, just type in "the most valuable motivator" on YouTube. You'll see all my work on.
See, I didn't even ask you because you answered it without me even to ask you. Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great.
James Edwards, thank you so much for talking to Bayloric TV.
I appreciate you. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you for the opportunity, man. I'd be happy to do it anytime.
absolutely. We'll mix it up again soon.
All right, thank you.
Take care.